Good to be here with you this morning. I'm going to talk a little bit about the sharing economy and some of the changes that we're seeing and how humans interact with each other through the power of sharing. So connections are important. They create ideas. They allow for the transfer of information. They create opportunities for business. Here in New York, just a few miles away, the Customs House served that purpose from the revolutionary days up into the 20th century. It allowed the young U.S. economy to be connected and develop industries such as textiles, whaling, cotton, things that are less important to us now, but things that were very important as the country was getting started. We're now at a point of new connecting economies. The commercial internet is almost exactly 20 years old at this point in time. From the point where Marc Andreessen developed the first browser, it's really only been 20 years. But if anything, the last 5 years have been even faster transformation than the first 15. Whether it's the rise of social media networks, whether it's the advent of smartphones, or all the data that is just being generated off of all of these transactions, we're just seeing another rapid evolution in technology and its impact on business. The sharing economy is becoming one of these very important new disruptive technologies. And Josh talked a little bit about some of these TaskRabbit and Uber and things like that. But Airbnb is a remarkable example of how this is happening. This is a company that did not exist 3 years ago today. They are estimating that they will be generating over $600 million for the New York economy this year, $200 or $300 million for the economy in Paris. And this is a company that just come out of nowhere. Over the summer months, in June of this year, there were 200,000 rooms available globally through Airbnb. That was up from 140,000 just 4 months earlier. There are rooms available in 190 countries. There are 400 castles available. There are very small rooms available in certain cities. And it has just been this unbelievable growth. Hilton, one of the largest hotel chains in the world, has 600,000 rooms available globally. But the big difference, of course, between Airbnb and Hilton is that Airbnb doesn't own a single room. They have not had to build a single hotel room, and they've been able to build this incredible success. How many people have actually stayed in an Airbnb room in the last year? Okay. How many people have rented out their apartment to Airbnb? That's a smaller number, of course. People are still getting used to the concept. I went to Europe this summer with my wife and 4 kids, and I like to think of myself somewhere between a hostel and the Four Seasons. My wife tends to see me more on the upper end of that. But she decided that we were going to, for our trips to Amsterdam and Paris, we were going to use Airbnb, which is an idea that I was not that comfortable with. But when I saw the cost of renting 3 hotel rooms in Paris and Amsterdam, I said, let's give it a shot. And so we did, and we had an amazing experience. When we got there, the people who owned the property were there to greet us. They gave us wine and cheese. They answered any questions we had. Just a remarkable experience and something that just happened so quickly, so overnight. So sharing economy is really transforming the market. The other thing that's really transforming the market is the rise in all of the devices that we now use. We've gone from cell phones to tablets. We've gone from PCs to cell phones to tablets to this, what's now being called the Internet of Things, a very awkward term. But we're now seeing everything being connected, right? You can get appliances that are connected to the internet. You can actually buy a toothbrush on the market that has an app that you can use to see how well your children have actually brushed their teeth because the toothbrush is connected to the internet and you can see what's been done. It's true. One of my employees in Los Angeles has a cat. He's obsessed with his cat. And he decided he was going to put a video camera on his cat to see what it does during the day. So he hooked it up and he watched it live feed in the office. Turns out, after he leaves to go to work in the morning, the cat waits a respectful amount of time to make sure he's away, then goes over to the neighbor's house where it's fed treats all day. And then the cat comes home to greet him when he comes in the door, all happy and excited to see him. So hopefully people aren't too worried about connecting their cats. but this unbelievable ability to connect devices is going to result us from going from 8 to 10 billion connected devices today to 70 to 80 billion over the next 7 to 8 years. So an 8-fold increase in just the next 7 years. So social media, when it started to emerge about 10 years ago, gave the internet a consciousness, right? It allowed us to participate in the information and the data that we see. Up to that point, we viewed pages. We sat in front of computers and we viewed web pages. We viewed the New York Times online instead of at our doorstep. But as this changed, people were able to talk. People were able to generate ideas. People were able to say what they were interested in and what they liked. And that has given the internet a consciousness and made it about people, not just pages. Sharing is also a new event, a new expression of how people interact with each other. You're now able to send articles. You're now able to share comments with the people you know, people you don't know. And sharing has really been also transformative as well. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs says that you must satisfy your lower needs, whether it's safety, physiological, love, belonging. You have to get those resolved before you can move up the pyramid to get to self-actualization. And so people share to work themselves up this pyramid to get more content, to get more happy. And sharing is part of that. I'm not going to say that Facebook makes you self-actualized, but it can help move you that way. And by the way, Maslow says really only about 1 in 100 people ever truly get self-actualized. So only 2 or 3 of you in this room are actually sitting there content. The rest of you are worried about your job or your partner or things of that nature. But this creates a lot of challenges. This sharing and technology creates both positives and negatives in society. And there's a lot of conversation about how technology can be alienating. There is a woman named Sherry Tuttle out of MIT. She was on the cover of Wired magazine in the 80s. And she has done a lot of research into how technology can alienate people. Her last book is called Alone Together. And there's a great quote that's right here. Drawn by the illusion of companionship without the demands of intimacy, we confuse postings and online sharing with authentic communication. And so that is one of the things that people are worried about with all this information and all this data, right? We all go to meetings at this point in our lives where the only time people pay attention is to make a point about something they want to say. They don't actually listen to what other people are saying. They just use their devices to tune out. You know, I had the opportunity 2 nights ago to be in Fenway Park to watch the Red Sox win the World Series. Sorry for the Yankee fans, but it was a great moment. The first time the Red Sox had an opportunity to win the World Series at home in 95 years. And it's the bottom of the ninth inning, top of the ninth inning, 2 outs, and everybody is just, it's an unbelievable moment. 38,000 people watching this event, but at least 25% of them are watching the event with the phone right in front of them, right? They have to capture and share the event before they can validate it. And that's one of the problems with technology. That's one of the things that we worry about, right? Another example is I have a conversation with my mom, who's both here and priceless to me, about the alienating of technology with my son and with teenagers in general. She's an educator, a lifelong teacher, and we talk about, you know, her concern because my son, you know, has some challenges socially. He's a little withdrawn. She's afraid that he's in his room, not connecting with people, just using his device, just using social media, and that is a concern. But on the other hand, he does have pen pals and people he communicates with in Russia, in Europe, people he would never, ever have the opportunity to meet. He writes emails and exchanges conversations with soldiers in Afghanistan, you know, kids who are really only 5 years older than him, who are so appreciative of someone reaching out and having that conversation. So there's both pros and cons to all of this debate and where technology fits in and where sharing fits in. There's also a lot of positive examples. A company like Retrofit, which is an investor, shares the same investor that Share This does. And there's a ton of these examples, you know, whether it's the Nike Fuel Band, whether it's the Jawbone Up, where someone can can go through, participate in a weight loss program, and share all their information with people who are in the program, share it with friends, be part of a connected community in ways that people weren't able to do. So technology can distance us, but it also can bring us together. So where do we see sharing going? We see sharing moving from sort of the walled gardens of a Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn to being something that is a little bit more ambient. That due to the connection with all the devices we have in our lives, we're able to generate this information that we control, hopefully control from a privacy point of view, but then we can make available to who we want to and when we want to. So if you go into a new town, you go for a visit, you're interested in the restaurants that exist in that town, you know, through your friends, what restaurants in advance they think are good. You don't have to go to a Yelp to hear what strangers think about a place. You have access to what your friends are seeing, and you're able to bring and pull that information to yourself when you would like to. So where does this all go? At a company like Share This, you would think that we would have a positive perspective on technology, and we do. We believe that sharing and the connections that exist and are going to continue to exist can be a very strong positive. It can bring people together. It can allow you to connect with people who are either your friends or family or people all around the world. Technology does not have to be alienating. It can be a positive force, and we can bring these connections together. And if it all works out well, maybe even more of you can become self-actualized over the next years. Thank you.